I think from a health point of view, the best place for us to be is outside with a nice chilled wine. I would suggest to you that from the acute care sector, climate change doesn't register. But from the public health point of view, we've heard today, especially from local councils, they well and truly understand climate change. And it's your local council who really are your public environmental health authority. And I guess this talk will be a little more extensive than just heat waves. So heat waves were, of course, very topical this week. In the acute care sector, heat waves interacts with ED departments and SAS, but the average nurse on a ward may not interact until she gets home and has to turn on the air conditioner and cool down that nice 45-degree house. Heat waves, of course, are one thing, but there are certainly other factors which affect health, and we've heard of some of these today. Hotter weather means better handling of high-risk foods are required. Chilled foods must remain cold, frozen foods must remain frozen. And we have a very robust food safety and order process in South Australia, and your local council is very adept at doing that. They spend a large amount of their resource in terms of public environmental health dealing with food. But a few other odd things can occur. During the drought, there was a need to conserve water, or so the public thought. One way to conserve water is to reutilise bath water. And what a better way to spread fecal-related infectious organisms, and hence we had an outbreak of cryptosporidiosis. So we often have, you adapt by reusing bath water, which has a consequence health-wise, and hence we need to change that message. You don't bath the same child in the same water. Since heat waves are topical, the heat wave of the magnitude of 2009 was new to many in Adelaide and certainly to health. And we've already heard from Peng Bai and the work he did, but and we're very grateful that we were able to collaborate with him and his team, Dr. Monica Nishki here tonight, or today, Graham Tucker and others from the Department of Health, folk from Bureau of Meteorology, folk from SafeCom and SES, have all been involved in understanding who were vulnerable, who were dying, and who were living. And it was interesting to find out that it is the cohort of folk living in this room, of this age group, who actually died. Because we tend to only think about the young and the old. Of course, those with mental illness, those with kidney and heart disease were also at risk. And overall health, social and liver conditions contributed to the outcome of exposure to prolonged heat. And there's a lot more work going on. Monica's and Peng's teams are involved in trying to better understand how those vulnerabilities can be dealt with. So excessive heat can, in certain circumstances, cause premature death and increases in lost years of life. And hence the department made this all the more visible, and Val Smythe, I don't think is here today, who works in our emergency management, who put together a whole heap of brochures and fact sheets. The SES, of course, have the heat wave warning system, which is implemented depending on what the minimum and maximum temperatures are, to inform the state, which then kicks in a whole heap of processes that occur. So the old folk will get calls to see whether they've actually have turned on the air conditioner, whether they actually are drinking. That leaves 95% of the state unaccounted for, unfortunately, because the heat wave warning system works well for the metro area. We've got data to support it. What I was excited about was the Bureau of Meteorology put out a report defining heat waves, and heat wave defined as heat impact event for the whole country. The heat wave service what SES puts out works well for the metro area, but what about if we live in Unadata? If you put out a heat wave warning in Adelaide, they would have had one nearly every day for the last 3 months. So what John Nan and Robert Fawcett have done is developed a different definition of what a heat wave is, and it would be interesting to work with them to operationalise, or see whether it can be operationalised in terms of vulnerable communities other than Metro Adelaide. The other major development in terms of health is the development of the Public Health Act, which comes into being on the 1st of July this year. This Act firstly makes it a general duty of each and every South Australian to be responsible for public health. So each one of us will have a duty in terms of public health. Secondly, and more importantly, we have to develop a state public health plan. The first state public health plan has been drafted, and of the 4 strategies within it, climate change forms one of those. Hence, the Department of Health is, as a government agency, is trying to put climate change within the health arena in public health by actually putting it in the public health plan. The plan will set goals and benchmarks, and we will need to report against it. But in essence, it's a new field for us, it's a new act, we're trying to make it work and understanding it. Local councils have to put in public health plans, but climate change fits within that. The other element we have been working on for a number of years was when Ilona Kikbush came to Adelaide as thinker in residence in 2007, was the introduction of health in all policies. In other words, everything we do often will impact our health. And the notion was that we ought to be having a health aspect of any policy we developed, and hence flowing from that was the new Public Health Act, which is modelled on something which happens in Quebec. Notwithstanding all of this, we still have a long way to go. Taking out from Don Burschel's point this morning, health literacy is required for people to understand there is a need to respond. Health literacy is really about capacity building at the individual level, which intersects, amongst other things, the education sector. Now, with the plethora of pseudoscience emerging, and the water quality people, David Cunliffe people, report to me, and they get called at least once a week about the fact that fluoride is killing them, or the government is mind controlling them, we have to deal with. But we need to bring the community along with us by trying to interpret the science in a way that they can understand it and comprehend it. It is a difficult world. So in summary, health is everyone's business. It's expensive. Preventing people becoming sickly saves money, but more importantly provides for a healthy, happy, productive community, which is the goal of public health. And adapting to climate change is really a matter of urgency, not an option. Thanks.